thank you all for joining us today. I, of course, have a very eclectic panel with me who are, of course, going to talk about how to optimally leverage your mobile-centric Martech stack. Bit of a tongue twister there. It's great to have all of your perspectives with different sectors and different roles, sharing your learnings in this specific area. So I wanted to begin with mentioning that mobile-first models surely have very critical business needs, and be it around engagement, retention, or bettering ROI. So firstly, let's start with your domain and your specific needs, and perhaps the metrics that you use to track growth. How does your stack help you today versus a couple of years ago? Because today the consumer is really, with the mobile, the usage is really compounded, what the consumer does with the mobile. So with technology also being so iterative, give us a quick outline of how today's stack has evolved, mobile stack has evolved vis-a-vis its key abilities, actually. We can start with Anuja.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I think, Shweta, firstly, if we were to kind of look back at how the Martech stack was a couple of years back to now, it's obviously been a huge movement because there's been a multi-threaded consumer journey, literally across platforms from, their mobiles to, web, transcending social platforms. And therefore, I think one of the big pieces, is the whole holistic ability of the stack. For you to be able to literally put down a full funnel, business and marketing KPI, and be able to sort of set out very clear objectives, orchestrate your marketing plans, and build out a very strong measurable sort of KPI. So I think the evaluation of campaigns and the measurability, I'd say, towards achieving your end business goals, in my mind, is possibly the biggest delta that we've seen today.
Yeah, over the last couple of years, yes. Right? Ashutosh, your take on this?
So I think one evolution which is happening is that there's a lot of low-code or no-code kind of platforms coming in. So where it helps the teams is that you don't need to depend on the tech team for everything. Right. So that's one way the trend is changing. Right. Few other things are happening. Earlier, everyone was using distributed tools. Now companies prefer more of an integrated platform. So teams are not wasting too much time, data going from one place to the other. These changes are happening. Specifically from a web or an app kind of a product, there's a lot more investment now into the user journey. Recording user sessions, trying to figure out why users are behaving in a particular way. So these changes are happening. But overall, I think, there's a realization that your marketing strategy is very important. That's the core. A stack can only go so far, right? So instead of force-fitting your strategy into the stack, you first need to get the strategy right, and then multiple different stacks can work out for you.
Right. Meenakshi, your take on what you can do today versus a couple of years ago?
We are living in a mobile-first world today, backed by digitalization. Or I should say that we are living in a mobile experience economy. Now the question is that how can we thrive in this economy? How to leverage technology and innovation to engage customers in more meaningful way. Today, customers demand more personalized and tailor-made experiences across all the channels. As a businesses, we should all know that who are our customers, what are their unique preferences, what are the categories or what are the geographies we are serving to, how our buyer or user journey looks like, and what's the buying cycle of our customers. So it's the Martech or it's the marketing stack which is enabling us to have a 360-degree view of our customers to give them more personalized experiences across all channels.
Right.
If I talk about tech, it's all a marketing tech now. 95% of the users are interacting with the brands via mobile phone or mobile app, right? So the entire universe of our customer's paradigm conduces to one thing: mobile technology, mobile stack.
Right. Piyush, please add to that as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Most of it is already covered, but I will bring in more of a tech perspective itself, right? So, especially for online travel where MakeMyTrip is, right? So, people are traveling for experiences, right? So, and as a brand, right? So, we need to ensure, so we are able to deliver those experiences back to our customers and users itself.
Correct.
But it starts with every marketer would put it like data first problem, right? So the very first problem is to attack the data part of it, the integration, the tooling, the stack. And it's not one stack, right? So people, every product out there in market needs to speak to each other, etc. So the take, at least, which we have seen over the period of time, right? So it's not going to be just like, so picking up some tooling out there from market. You need to truly understand and build certain tooling at the back, right? So, for example, Meenakshi spoke about, right, 360-degree profile, etc., right? So, but at the end of the day, how you are delivering those user profiles, user journey, which Tosh spoke about, right? So you need to truly be able to understand those things. The journey, the question you had, right? So a couple of years back, at least for our brand, right, we were very focused on 2 or 3 line of businesses, which is primary, air, and hotels. But like we have added a lot on the portfolio side of it. So we are positioned like a super app of travel, and hence now it's not just understanding of one piece on a trip journey, which is saying, okay, user is traveling from point A to point B, but be able to truly understand the other needs of it as well, right? So, and most of the tooling out there in the market would allow you to just look at some records and the data, some columns, etc.
Right.
But be able to stitch together in saying, okay, this user on the air funnel, he maybe have left, for example, one footprint, right? On hotels funnel, another footprint. But are you able to stitch and try to understand, okay, this user on his trip or her trip is trying to move like differently, right? So, and hence, right, so I don't see the tooling stack understanding some graph relationships, etc., in the right manner, right? And building for it, and then integrating a lot of tooling has happened in the last few years, which is enabling some good experience overall.
That's great to hear, yeah. Shivangi, your horizontal perspective on things.
Yeah, thanks for asking this, Shweta, right? So I bring a very different perspective, right? Being on the other side of selling a marketing technology solution to hundreds of digital businesses and consumer brands out there, right? So I think the paradigm shift that I've seen, the evolution of marketing tech stack yesterday versus today is twofold for me. One, before, a lot of players were using legacy marketing clouds, right, which were which are not just built for a mobile-first marketer of today. When I say that, what I mean by that is, you know, these marketing clouds were very point solutions, you know, web-first in nature. They did not really, they relied a lot on relational databases. And when you do that, you do not actually get to be very real-time in nature, right? So today's consumer expects in-the-moment engagement. Even Google says that, you know, in-the-moment engagement will get you a lot more conversions. So, which is where I think, you know, new age marketing tech stacks, including the likes of MoEngage, have started making a mark, because here is where I think we, not just in terms of bringing that real-time context, like today, let's say if a user is at Connaught Place in a store, he gets out, passes by a Starbucks, the expectation of the user is to get a very contextual engagement, which is related to that real-time context. This is being solved by some of the new age marketing techs out there, right? So engage with real-time context and also be able to process billions of data points to deliver this context to users in real time, right? And at the right time on the right channel, right? This is where a holistic view of the user comes into picture, right? So that's number one. Number two is the focus has shifted from, so one of the other things, consequences of using legacy marketing clouds was they had a very campaign-centric approach. So naturally, when the entire world was learning about marketing automation, the focus was on campaign-centric approach, right? So it was more like, you know, who are the users who, if I were to send an email campaign, a marketer of yesterday would think that, you know, who are the users who shopped with me 6 months ago, LTV is greater than $10,000 and did not come back in the last 30 days, right? So very cohort-specific campaigning, right? But again, in today's user requires an absolutely personalized one-on-one experience. right? So moving on from that to being able to say that, hey, this is a high value user to me, browsing, let's say some luxury hotels in Udaipur, how do I sort of personalize the website for this user with very relevant recommendations and a contextual offer, and then when the user will drop off, because the user always drops off, right? So when the user drops off, how do I bring him or her back with a push notification? These are the two shifts that I've seen, real-time engagement and customer-centric approach.
Right. So, well, that was obviously the shifts that we saw in the last couple of years. Let's talk about keeping it lean and mean, like more lean and mean than what we've already seen. More and more marketers, as we know, are going to increase their investments in Martech. As per Gartner's report, it is 68% of them. But on one hand, Martech underutilization, and we discussed it backstage as well, it's common across. I mean, it's not just for mobile, it's for throughout the stack, throughout the main stack, or the mobile stack. But underutilization has been cited as an issue. Assuming this holds true for mobile, why do you think that happens? And what cross-functional gaps are you trying to kind of address working with your teams? And basically, you need to catch up with a very fast-moving consumer today. So how are you trying to close those gaps when you're actually trying to capitalize on all that data that's coming towards you? Anuja.
So I think firstly, I'll just say that a lot of the underutilization that you spoke of is not necessarily the insufficiency of data or the insufficiency of the stacks. It's possibly sometimes, the marketer's inability to put down a very clear problem statement, right? So let me kind of give you an example. Firstly, I think we'll have to also just to answer this question, I think one thing that I do want to call out is that this journey is very iterative, right? So we'll have to remember that at any given point in time, the stack will cater to about 85 to 90% of your needs, but you will see that at some point in the journey, you will need to kind of keep making those tweaks. But I think for the marketer, it's important, for me to define whether I'm really going after a customer acquisition or retention, what's there for my cohort definition.
Right.
In case of, let's say, an organization like Honasa, or particularly Mamaearth, there are multiple categories through which I could go in, from an acquisition lens. As far as LTV is concerned, I could look at an upsell or a cross-sell opportunity. And therefore, the way I would define those cohorts and then kind of build my campaigns, the kind of, message personalization, the time and how I deliver those messages. Right? I think all of those keeps getting defined by Martech. But obviously what happens, like, was just mentioned, there is a certain journey that you're expecting, but what I think really when Martech helps you with is that when you see that the journey is kind of breaking somewhere, you can do a course correction in a real-time sense. So my sense is that most of the marketers are still playing around with the stacks. I think still figuring it out, to be very honest.
Yes.
But I think it all depends. It's a very, very dynamic situation. You're defining the consumer journey. You're sort of seeing certain consumer responses to campaigns. You're making those tweaks real-time. And you kind of then sometimes go back to the drawing board and sometimes drop a very different line. Yeah. But I think the Martech stacks, by and large, allow you almost, a freedom of about 85 to 90% of addressing your marketing problems.
That's not a bad figure at all,
It's a great
actually.
start.
Yeah. Ashutosh, your take on underutilization?
Yeah, so I think, one reason is that companies are using multiple stacks, and it gets difficult to transport data from one place to the other. That's one of the reasons why this could be happening. But also, personally, one thing I feel is that, what happens a lot of times is the tools tell you what the users did on your platform. Why they did it is usually not very easy to figure out from any tool. So unless, companies tie in with a lot of other things like user research, talking to their customers, it gets very, very difficult. And in fact, this is something I keep on telling my product team, that you should be using your product every day. Unless you use it every day, you don't build empathy for the user, you don't figure out what's happening, right? So people are very focused on looking at data. Data keeps on telling them what's happening, but doesn't usually tell you why it's happening. So I think that's one of the big reasons probably why, utilization is still lower. And the tools are evolving, right? And as I also said in the past, right, very critical for you to get your strategy right first. Unfortunately, we go after the latest and greatest tools available in the market because someone tells us this tool is doing really well. We end up taking the tool, but it may not fit into your overall strategy.
Correct, yeah.
also, I think maybe a little bit of a techie angle here, but also depends on what your current platform is like right now, right?
Yes.
Integrating anything new on top of that, as a marketing team, as a tech team, you should first try to figure out, would it work seamlessly with my current stack or not? And sometimes, each company's construct is very different, right? The kind of tech talent available is very different. So you have to take all of those factors into mind. And I think this is also one of the reasons why, utilization is not as high. Maybe, reports say 60, 70%.
Yeah.
So I think that's the number we are at.
A lot of factors in play, but at least there's awareness that it needs to improve. Meenakshi, your take on this?
Why it happens, what I feel, number one is the lack of unified dashboard. Different internal stakeholders chasing different matrices.
Right.
For example, the marketing team is chasing the customers landing on the listing page. Product team is chasing customer landing on the product display page.
Right.
Sales team is chasing how many buyers are booking the test drive. I am chasing whether the experience is consistent or not. So tracking A, B, C on a unified dashboard is of utmost importance. Number two, shiny object syndrome, as Ashutosh rightly mentioned. There are so many companies offering different features, different platform, different tools. We get overwhelmed with that. But whether it should be a strategy first or a feature first, the answer is strategy first. If that feature or product is fitting into your overall marketing strategy, then it's always a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Number three is what product, why product, which product. See, again, there are plethora of products available in the market. You have to really decide whether you'll be building or you'll be buying it out. Even the term Martech is alien to so many, right? So it's always a challenge for the teams to decide on what products they should buy and why should they buy. The fourth factor is ROI. Whether you are considering the first click as a benchmark or you are taking a weightage averages of all the click. Every Martech platform has to deliver its ROI.
True.
Lastly, I should say it's the underutilized stacks also. We buy so many things. For example, you have bought a testing tool last year, which got unutilized for the year. Or we have bought a data insight tool, but we are just leveraging our own insight business intelligence. So it's not about the performance or efficiency of anything. It's about, the fitting of the product or a platform into our overall marketing strategy or the company's business goal, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Piyush, your perspective.
No, I agree to Meenakshi in saying, right, so different people, different cohort of users, or so different actors within the organization chasing different metrics, right? So that's number one, right? So for every function, there is a different metric defined in the goal. But so at the end of the day, everybody keeps on saying, okay, it is going to be a same user journey, etc. But tools don't talk about, right? So if you are creating even a user journey, for example, on any platform, right? The same journey doesn't reflect, for example, when you are in your product funnel, etc. Right? So marketing user journey is different from your product user journeys, etc. Right? So and hence some amount of data requirement and the consumption of it, the insights and the actionables which you are trying to take on platform versus the off-ramp experience which you want to, for example, drop-off customers you want to bring back, etc. You end up communicating different things, chasing different goals that creates underutilization and other pieces. But one other thing is, right, so that apart from the definition of the user journey, right, as Ashutosh spoke about, right, the strategy has to be unified. You can't have multiple strategies for different functions altogether, right? So org level and taking customer first approaches, etc. Has helped. We are also learning and improving on the same, but I completely agree to the study which is saying, right, so most of the tooling is underutilized in number of plethora features which they provide. Yeah.
That's a very real perspective. Shivangi, your take.
Well, a lot of things were said, and I think I'd just add more to it, right? So there are three reasons on the top that I see this happening, right? The first one is, and I've seen this happening with many customers prospects that I sell to, right? So first one is I buy a Ferrari, right, with a top speed of 300 kilometers per hour, but ultimately to drive in Bangalore and Delhi traffic, right? So my i10 will do an equally good job, right? So coming to that point that Ashutosh, Meenakshi, everyone made, right? So why don't you have an understanding of your core use cases for the next 2-3 years and buy a tool that specifically solves for that problem statement? And not invest in a large marketing cloud, experience cloud with, let's say, 6 different modules and expect that the $1 million that you invested in year 1 will give you $5 million in return in that very year. It will not work, right? So you need to know your strategy and invest accordingly, right? The second reason that I've seen is I buy a tool, but I do not know how to use it, right? And Ashutosh said that use the product every day, right? But I also feel that to add to that, people are also very critical, right? They're the most critical yet undervalued part of the Martech stack deployments, right? This is on both sides, on the consumer brand side, on the vendor that you select, on that side. So always invest in relationships that help in upskilling, training, and supporting the people who are running the show. Which brings me to a very substantial and crucial arm of any subscription service of today's day and age, right? So invest continuously in customer success to deliver mutual benefit, right? Otherwise, no tool will deliver the best ROI that one is expecting, right? You're not doing right to your customers, right? The third reason is paced adoption in a phased manner. So I get a tool, let me attack the low-hanging fruits and deliver initial success to the right stakeholders. This will also motivate and drive the person to do more.
Right.
And then, move the needle on a quarter-on-quarter basis towards more advanced, new, fancy initiatives and use cases.
Right.
So always pace it out, and the adoption will get there at least eventually over a period of 12 to 18 months horizon.
Like a phased, spaced out approach. Yeah, that works. You want to add something, Ashutosh?
I wanted to add one point to that.
Sure, sure.
This comes from my experience 15 years ago when I used to work in analytics. We used to call this the hippo problem. So what happens for most companies is that a hippo is highest income person's personal opinion. So no matter what tool you use, there will always be a founder or a VP or a CEO who has a personal opinion about the way something should be done. And people will try to make the tool give that data, right? So that's something you have to be very careful about.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to request the team to put the timer on, I think. That's all. All right. Moving on quickly, let's talk about personalization a bit more. I know all of you touched upon it. Mobile data is, of course, quite crucial in providing you key insights onto a more personalized experience. And hyper-personalization is no longer a buzzword. It is the norm. And brands across verticals are prioritizing seamless personalized experiences. So vis-a-vis your mobile stack, how are you approaching your personalization strategy and looking at data from your mobile channel to just enhance that experience? Anuja.
I think just, for the perspective of everyone here, right, and I'll kind of, draw parallels between, let's say, the conventional FMCG or, CPG world and, let's say, the new age online first or digital first brands. In the conventional CPG world, firstly, there is really very little, or you don't know where the bottom of the funnel is, right? So most of the marketing is top of the funnel, right? And the whole awareness model is one-to-many, one large television campaign, that sort of gradually, over years went on to a little bit of more money being spent on a few digital platforms. That was it, right? That was one message that went out, and I think great brand building, but at the same time, that was the start and the end of personalization. I think again, for now CPG is a very different animal, right? Because there is a certain pace of consumption, there is a pace of innovation that you need to still ensure that you're latching on to, and therefore the inciting, that you need to, the deliberation that needs to go into consumer inciting, understanding the product, your product portfolio continues to be critical. I think when I look at the new age organizations, if I was to talk about, Mamaearth, right? I think the fact that the stack today allows us in real time, to do a quant assessment with our own consumer base, cutting down a 4 to 6 week research, to check propositions, payoffs, claims, their product preferences and categories. I think one at an inciting end is, sort of helping me, expedite the consumer journey dramatically. When it comes to communication, again, like I said, because I'm able to define the cohorts and the specific actionables, right? Whether it's acquisition through a category or it's driving LTV, through a cross-sell, it's allowing me to build, my content a lot more meaningfully, and therefore the whole content to commerce is not just, a great buzzword, but it's really something that's being practiced, right? From, the influencer content pieces, to just purely engagement driving content pieces, which we are seeing is helping, the consumers move from purely awareness to consideration and to, them adding the products to their cart and eventually conversion. So I think, as far as, the CPG world is concerned, I think what Martech's really helped you do is crunch the time while not crunching the processes, right? And while not crunching the due diligence, but ensuring that you're really at, a very close touch with your consumers. You have possibly a closer ear to your consumers' viewpoints. And you're, sort of able to deliver messaging, get the responses, and tweak campaigns real time. So I think that's honestly been a beauty, particularly for this industry.
Yeah, and those nudges will be that much more receptive by the consumers, right?
And whether they're receptive or not is also something that you get to know, right? So whether your campaign's a hit or a flop, I don't need to wait, again for 8 weeks after my campaign's over to see, if my metrics went up. I know for sure right here, in the next few days or a couple of hours, if my email campaign or, my large digital and television campaigns are having a rub-off on my overall searches and eventually resulting in consideration.
Ashutosh, your take on personalization?
So I think all brands now spend a lot of effort around personalizing experience for the users. There's a ton of information available. But now interesting trends are happening in the market, right? So now if you look at Apple, every time you download an app, they ask you allow other apps, allow it to track your activity everywhere else or not, right? So consumers are now getting very, very particular about what data they're sharing. Brands, the bigger tech companies are getting very particular. I think next year, Chrome will also disable third-party cookies, right? So a lot of difference will happen in terms of what data comes to people to personalize. While, it's happening at multiple levels, right? So if you look at e-commerce players, there's a lot of personalization which happens around figuring out based on your journey, abandoned cart or shipping speed, where do we need to put more warehouses? Then at the other extreme, you have companies like Shein who are actually predicting what people would buy. They are building those products, right? So while a lot is happening, I think there's good awareness now amongst people in terms of what data is being shared. So I think brands need to be very cautious about that. And, I would make another point, right? So like they say in life, listening is more important than talking. And as brands right now, we spend a lot of notifications when we try to personalize experience. We spend a lot of stuff to customers. I think slowly it's much more important for us to listen more and talk less. Less notifications, personalize experiences without being very intrusive. I'm not saying we should shut down notifications.
But
more effective.
Calibrate it a bit,
But listen a lot more. In fact, you would see now what's happening if I look at the premium luxury segment right now, right, in e-commerce. Now the brands have realized that there are a lot of young customers who today may not be able to afford a Gucci, but they are personalizing online experiences for them so that they love the value of the brand, that over the next 10 years, maybe they become a customer, right? So it's becoming a much bigger cycle. You're trying to engage a lot more at a very early stage.
Yeah, it's a longer term vision, right? Yeah, Meenakshi.
Long ago, personalization was just meant changing the names on the mails and messaging and sending it to the customer. But now it's hyper-personalization.
Yes.
Serving to the audience of one. What customer expects from us. Know me, know my unique preferences, cater me accordingly, make me feel heard, and I'll give you my loyalty. So this is possible just because of the marketing tools and the marketing stack or the mobile stack which is available with us. So based on the deep consumer insights we get from this platform, we have also divided our customers into the cohorts. Like we know for the cohort 1, the most of the buyers are the first-time buyers, and they are from the age group of 25 years to 35 years. And they are the working professionals. But in the cities like Kolkata or Ahmedabad, we have buyers from older cohorts also. and they are the business people having local penetration. So we know the buying cycle for our cohort 1 is 1 to 3 months, and for the cohort 2 it's 3.5 to 5 months. So with this, having a 360-degree view of a customer, or we can say a more deep insights in the consumer behavior, we are able to give a more personalized or hyper-personalized solutions to our customers. To add one more example over here, most of the buyers of Spinny are the first-time buyers. But in the mature cities of like NCR and Bangalore, we are having a repeated buyers also.
Right.
So whenever anyone is coming back to us, maybe to change his car or to have an additional car, we can think of that he's coming for an upgrade and what cars he's browsing, what he's searching. So we have a huge database or insights that what we should nudge. Our recommending and nudging strategies are totally based on the buyer's behavior, which is giving us what I can say, that it is allowing us to send a right message at the right place, delivering great customer experience, great customer retention, enabled user, and a more engaged customer, and hyper-personalization.
Piyush.
For us, the take is, right, so personalization, we see it more like a experience optimization problem, right? And you need to continuously do as, like, so a lot of experiments, right, overall.
Yeah.
And these are not just the typical A/B experiments, because the result takes time to evaluate with analysis and then say, okay, here is a winner. Here you are continuously experimenting, right, with multi-arm banded algorithms or contextual multi-arm banded algorithms. So for example, when you are there on MakeMyTrip app, right, so so you have different sections, lob icons to offer sections to cross-sell opportunity you are talking about, and many other things, right? So you are continuously learning from computing the reward functions, the regret functions, and then optimizing your goals, right? So, and that's how we see it, right? And that's where the initial success has been also. And when you go deeper into the product funnels, then you want to reduce the information overload, you want to pick the right products, all the recommendations, play, etc. That is truly personalized, right? So you have good amount of purchase history, behavior, not just the purchase behavior, you have like, so even device activity to every other thing, and that you are also stitching across different channels, be it web, etc., coming back onto mobile and multiple devices, etc. So if you are able to do the better part of, right, understanding the user behavior, etc., the recommendations are better, right? Earlier when we started on the hotel ranking itself, right, it was like, so top 30 hotels used to contribute to 80% of the business. Now, like, so the top 5 are contributing to 80% of the business, right? So the relevancy of recommendations are improving day by day, etc., as we are learning. But the key crux is going to be, right, so leveraging more of machine learning, treat it more like an optimization problem, experiment a lot, right, put out hypothesis goals with matrices, right? Some of the time, right, Ashutosh was pointing out in the previous question also, right, so strategy part of it, right? Here, like, so the goals are not defined, but machine learning will force you to define those goals, because now you need to compute a reward function. You can't just do a A/B in saying, okay, just do random 50-50 split, I will analyze it later.
Yeah.
No, because now the algorithm is trying to force you to also learn, okay, what the matrix is you need to put across, etc. So goal-driven user understanding is what is leading to more personalized experiences overall.
It's time to move on from just simple A/B testing. Shivangi, your view.
Yeah, I think a lot of relevant points, especially from Piyush, right? So I'll say that, you know, the good part about mobile apps is that you have access to tons of data, but that's also the bad part, right? Because if one doesn't know how to make sense of this enormous amount of data to deliver simplistic personalization, then you have anyway lost the game. Right, so sticking to the first principles to personalization is very important. So building that robust foundation to track the right user behavior in a privacy-first manner, then investing in the right tool that helps you make sense of that petabytes of data in an easy out-of-the-box fashion, while not just making sense, right? Like, I think what Piyush says is very relevant, that also helps you predict what the users are going to do, where they're headed, what patterns you're seeing, etc. And investing in tools that help you complement that, right? Today you understand what your users are doing, but you probably do not understand what is the right channel to engage them on, what is the right time to reach out to them. So it's very important to decide on that right strategy, even technology-wise, and then act on some of the drop-offs likely to churn, convert cohorts in a very personalized manner, right? In the context that makes sense. And last step is where personalization matters, right? It goes way beyond, I think, Anuja touched upon it. It goes way beyond just saying that, hey Shivangi, hey Shweta. It's more about, in fact, if you look at the numbers, Indian shoppers are more likely to, are 3x more likely to click on a push notification that is personalized with the entire user journey rather than just, simple user attributes like names, etc.
Yeah.
So.
We just have 2 minutes left, so I'm going to ask you a 30-second answer to what I'm asking next. So Anuja, tell me about integration of offline and online, and Meenakshi also can tell me the same thing. And the other three, I'm going to ask the next question. So.
I think, what Martech's helping us do, because we're an online-first organization, right? And bulk of our business is still online, but we're seeing a very rapid offline growth, is actually building first principles of, category constructs and, and category growths.
Yeah.
And therefore, because we know what are the triggers and barriers with our online consumers towards buying the category or buying the brand, it's helping me build, our, product portfolio to take offline. I could literally do like a zip code assessment of, what are the subcategories that sell in, differently in an Agra versus in Noida, and actually take the same, to an offline. And I think likewise, because purpose is a very big piece, is a very big part of, our ethos. A very small example, right? Because this entire plant goodness intervention that we drive, through our website, where every order is tagged to a tree that we plant, it's built such a strong equity and ethos that we actually took that line of ye natural products banate aur ped bhi lagate hain, right from our first television commercial to now. So, right, so that's kind of helped us to just transcend the entire consumer journey and take the learnings of it.
Meenakshi, one line take.
I'll share the just example of Ashutosh. Ashutosh outside was sharing with me that how he has discovered his spinny car. He just searched it online till the discovery phase or making the payment. He was online, and 1 o'clock he was at our store taking the delivery of the car. So in Spinny, the online and offline cannot be, seen separately, because till the discovery phase or booking the car or making the payment, customer is online.
Right.
But while he's taking a home test drive or a test drive at hub, or he's taking a home delivery or delivery from hub, customer switches from online to offline and offline to online. So the unified customer view, or you can say the cohesive customer view, is allowing us to have a high level of interaction at every touch point.
Right.
That's, again, the personalization and the hyper-personalization plays a vital role over here. Yeah.
Ashutosh, your take on build versus buy. One line take, because we are up.
There's no simple answer. I think build versus buy, it depends on the construct of the company. Every company is different. Tech capability, your requirement, based on that, you have to take a call. So different answers for different companies.
True, we discussed that earlier, Piyush.
No, both, right?
Yeah.
So some things you need to build it in-house. Some of the stuff wherein you can just, like, for example, delivery part of it, etc. You want to leverage some other stack because you want to focus on the core business part of it, right?
Yeah.
And understanding the users, etc. Still with you, building machine learning models, etc. And then integration with others. So build versus buy would be a mix of both from my side. Yeah.
Shivangi, just one line I can afford.
If you ask me, I'll always say buy.
That will be your perspective.
But on a more serious note, my only question to folks facing this conundrum would be, and this is a very popular question we get asked, is that, I have a team of 250 world-class engineers living, breathing, and building products for customer engagement.
That's the wrong question for you, actually.
I think
sorry,
it's
but I'm sorry to say, but my time is really up. And thank you so much for sharing those learnings. It was really great getting those insights from all of you. Thank you very much. That's all.